Toyota New Zealand has been the market leader here in New Zealand for over 30 years. We believe every day is an opportunity to improve, and if you can dream it, you can do it. Hi, I'm Sean Crooks. I'm the team lead for digital marketing for Toyota New Zealand. We did a lot of research into the car buying process and where people were happy and unhappy. Where they were happiest was when they weren't talking to a car dealer, and that hurt. The car buying process hasn't really changed in over 100 years. Dealers are still called dealers because that's where you go to deal, to negotiate. So Toyota New Zealand have changed the way New Zealanders buy cars to allow the customer to do the research that they want to do in the place that they want to do it. We started with imagining an ideal customer journey, and we looked for a partner that would provide the skills that we knew we lacked, that would support our long-term vision. Indigen very early on realised the scope of what Toyota New Zealand was trying to do and started putting the appropriate people around the account. The website improves the customer experience by providing the customers with the tools they need when they need them. So there's one called Compare, for example, which allows you to put one car up alongside another car and compare all the specifications of it. You can then go on and use the Build Your Own tool. The Build Your Own tool allows you to add and remove accessories, change the colour, spin the car around, see how it's actually going to look. It's a very simple interface for the customer to use. It's very intuitive. At the end of the Build Your Own process, you get to have a look at a summary of the car that you've customised, and when you're ready, you've got the ability to select your local store. The role of the sales consultant now is more of a trusted advisor. They're there to reassure the customer that the selection that they've made is right for them. Just a last check to make sure that you've got exactly the car that you wanted. Customers are at the heart of everything that we do, and we relied heavily on the Indigen developers to create a seamless experience for the customer. Indigen provided us with a great deal of depth and a lot of skills that we didn't have, and challenged a lot of assumptions that we had around what we actually required. We don't have the luxury of turning our system off and fixing it. It's got to be right, it's got to be public facing all the time. Once we move to Epi e-commerce, we're starting to tap more and more into customer behaviour. Not only does website behaviour indicate customer intent, but it also gives us an inkling of customer satisfaction. Having a good product is one thing, but the support around that product is more important. It's changed the way that Toyota New Zealand does business. The power has shifted to the customer.
At Toyota, we're proud to welcome you back to our centres.
We've been hard at work preparing for your return.
Your safety and well-being is our #1 priority.
You'll see a few things have changed,
but our commitment to delivering the best possible Toyota experience remains the same.
We are encouraging everyone to make an appointment, so when you arrive, one of our team will be ready to welcome and assist you.
On arrival, you may be asked to park in a particular space or even wait for your car for a short time so we can look after you properly.
At the main entrance, we've installed clear signs to help you maintain social distancing.
Inside, you will find a sanitising station for your use and for peace of mind. To guide you safely through the centre, there is a clearly indicated route to follow. We have installed clear signs to guide you more efficiently to the correct department.
Our sales showroom has been rearranged to allow for social distancing around vehicles, and won't ever get into a vehicle with you.
We can arrange unaccompanied test drives so you can still try out your next Toyota.
All our demonstration vehicles are thoroughly sanitised before and after use.
If you're visiting our sales team, we are using electronic brochures, electronic document signing and contactless payment to minimise physical contact.
If you would rather not visit in person, we understand, and we can arrange for a member of our team to contact you from home.
We're happy to talk over the phone, on email, or even via video calling.
Our parts department is fully open, and we offer online retail through the Toyota website, all cared for by your local Toyota centre. If your car is here for service, we want you to be confident that it will be safe to use upon its return.
Our technicians will clean and sanitise your car when it arrives and again before it's returned to you.
Floor mats, seat covers and protective fill are used on the steering wheel and gear lever to minimise contact with the car's interior.
Our service team will wear gloves and all touch points will be deeply cleaned before your car's return. If you're waiting, bottled water is available for your refreshment.
We just ask that you dispose of your bottle in the bins provided when you're finished.
All of these measures, including increased cleaning, are here to ensure that your safety and well-being is our top priority.
If there is anything you are unsure about, please feel free to ask.
So, wherever you live,
Your local Toyota centre is here to get you moving again.
We look forward to seeing you again soon.
And in the meantime, please take care and stay safe.
Good morning. Good morning. Here we go. So as normal, we just try to start with a few books. So I picked three. Max Zanan, who's on the show today, can speak to one of them. The Toyota Way for Continuous Improvement, if you're not familiar with Kaizen, and Dealership Process Secrets from Philip Chatham. So go ahead, Jeff.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for attending. Thanks Farid and Max for joining us. As Ian said, the ladies that were on have had some problems, and of course we wish our best to Lisa's family and Jennifer to feel better today. But that's okay because we've got two terrific guests joining us and two gentlemen who are certainly not shy. And I do have to say, Farid, we put that second video in just to make you feel at home from the UK. So,
Thank you very much, Jeff.
although I'm sure lots of people online were trying to figure out where the line changed from New Zealand to United Kingdom. So,
That's right.
anyways, thanks again for joining us. And we first start with a disclaimer because our opinions and views here are those of our guests and speakers. In no way necessarily do they reflect the official policy of AutoHub or Ian Nethercott or myself, Jeff Polo, and or any other form or anything associated with this. Comments on here are the sole responsibility of the guest speakers. It is the show is for the guests and not for the hosts. And I always say, although Ian and I could certainly talk for about 6 hours, please mute and unmute yourselves. That leaves the dog from being recorded, being barking. If you have any questions, the chat box is being monitored and we'll certainly bring them up at the first opportunity. There's a ton of knowledge here. Why, holy cow, I can't believe it. Some of these days it amazes me. So please feel free to share ideas, respect each other's time, and all the participants have agreed to be open and sharing ideas, and they're okay with others using them. And today, relax, because nobody's trying to sell you anything today. However, you will notice that it's being sponsored by Automotive Business Solutions from Halifax, Nova Scotia, actually Dartmouth, our friend Jot Latka. And this Friday, we will talk about it again. He will be joining us on Vendor Speak to tell us why his stuff's so cool. And again, everybody's input is valued, so please speak up and bring value and don't be afraid to ask questions. And we're going to be respectful of everybody's time. We do end at on the hour because people have other lives in our show, even though Ian and I probably don't. But so without further ado, we have two of our four guests here today. And I will just get them in a moment. Our first guest that we have here, we have Farid Ahmad, hopefully I pronounced that properly, founder and CEO of Dealer Solutions, Mergers and Acquisitions, Auto Careers, some other cool stuff because there's too many things to say. Farid, just give us a short introduction to yourself.
Sure. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you for taking your time to join AutoHub. My name is Farid Ahmad. I'm the owner and founder of various automotive businesses that specialize in the world that we all love, which is the automotive industry. We do from recruitment of talent for the automotive industry all the way through to having people buy dealerships And our most recent venture, which is Drive Investment Partners, is the first ever fund created for the next generation dealer principals who are trying to own their first dealership. So we have, on North American wide, about 30 members of our team. We operate in 11 states in the United States and every province in Canada. That's a little bit about me.
Terrific, thank you. And our next guest is Max Zanan. Again, Max, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. This CEO of MZ Dealer Services in a very low-key state called Pennsylvania, but maybe New York, depending where you look. Max, can you just tell us a bit about yourself and introduce yourself?
So first, thank you for inviting me. And like Farid, I'm the owner of multiple automotive businesses. Basically, we do two things. We do dealership consulting, where we help dealers make money. And there are many different ways dealers can make money. So it's not limited just to sales or F&I. It can be service, it can be parts, it can be marketing, it can be reinsurance. And at the same time, we also provide online compliance training for all departments of a car dealership. Because unfortunately, car dealers get in trouble a lot. And our goal is to help them keep the profits they made. So on one side of our business, we help them make money, and on the other side, we help them keep money. And when I'm not doing that, I find time to write books.
Well, it looks like you found a fair amount of time to write some books.
Right.
How many books total, Max? How many books have you written so far?
4.
Okay.
Wow. Good for you, man. Yeah. And I hope they're selling well.
They are. Unfortunately, we don't have any educational barrier to car business, at least in the United States. And a lot of it, causes problems down the road. If you need to have a license to be a mortgage broker, but you do not need a license to be an F&I. It's the same job. So, I hope my books help, because again, there's no formal education available out there for most people starting out in the business.
I'm sure they are, and I know a lot of people have talked about them. So, gentlemen, question for the two of you, and I'll call on each of you separately. But what's the biggest challenge dealers face today in growing and moving forward? Because we know we're in a very time that nobody ever anticipated. Farid, perhaps you could answer that first.
Well, from my perspective, there's two key issues any growing organization has given our current situation. Number one is access to capital. Capital has really tightened up. But number two, which is really not unique to the COVID situation, is access to talent. Unfortunately, we are losing a lot of talent from our retail world. And I think if I get, whenever we are approaching an organization to look at acquiring another asset, other than the financial information, the next thing that they focus in on is, tell me about the management, tell me about the people, what's their turnover rate? So I think that the two short answers are access to capital and the talent pool out there, or the lack thereof.
Terrific. It's very funny, all these people that Ian and I talk to, and all these times, and everybody always talks about human capital, yet we have numerous shows about turnover. It's very interesting. Max, what's your take on this?
So I agree with Farid wholeheartedly. So in addition to what he mentioned, I would say the biggest problem is just being in denial. 24/7. It's nonstop denial of reality. If you speak to car dealers, digital retail doesn't exist. It's a fantasy. right? Only Amazon does it, right? So you can walk into a dealership, have a meeting with the dealer principal, see this dealer principal receiving orders from Amazon, right? Right into his office, like throughout the day. But then you ask him, by the way, can I buy a car from you online? And they look at you like you are insane, right? And ultimately, what happened with COVID in the United States is that it set back digital retail probably 10 years, right? Because after the lockdown, the up bus actually came, right? And when the up bus came, they like, told you we don't need digital retail. People love coming to the dealership. So I think that's the ultimate problem. And while they're being in denial, right? These guys at Carvana and Vroom are going to eat their lunch.
100% agree.
That's for darn sure. So if we got questions for anybody and the gentleman for this, but there is a comment from a person on the chat that the issue is the dealers are scared of letting go.
Yeah, and we had a show last week on digital retail, and it was really interesting as a number of the speakers talked to that specifically, but more importantly, the whole purpose of the show was what's the ROI of digital retail. And I would agree with you, Max, that, you know, they're still like, oh, this isn't real, but the reality is their competitors are doing it. So, you know, you really need to dip your toe into the pool. I'm not sure what the right solution is, but we had two of the bigger companies in the market, Roadster and Moto Insight, on last week's show, as well as some others, to really talk to this issue. And it's really about, you know, you got to figure it out, right? You know, the up bus probably is not a long-term strategy.
We certainly found that a lot of dealers, they got this great digital thing going because people weren't coming in, but they started to do it, and they reopened with very short hours. And I don't know about where you are, but out here, all of a sudden, everybody's back to 9 to 9, 7 days a week, waiting for the up bus. Ian, perhaps you could move on to the next question.
I think we should also talk a little bit about Bob Ruth Ford. Rob Ruth was on, and he basically said that he delivered 100 cars during COVID when he couldn't sell cars in Pennsylvania, and then went toe-to-toe with the governor of Pennsylvania. But he figured out a way to do it in a small market outside of, I think he's outside of Pittsburgh. But, you know,
he's right in the middle between, right in the middle between Pittsburgh and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
In a little teeny tiny town.
And he's selling a lot of used cars because he can't get new inventory. He was told by Ford he's going to get half the allocation. Yeah. So, interesting. So how have things changed with future planning in these days when we really don't know how we'll be operating or able to operate in the next 90 days, 6 months, or a year, in your opinion, Max?
Well, you know, I don't think anybody has the crystal ball, right? I have a feeling that a lot of dealers got a full sense of confidence during the summer months, right? Because the sales and the gross profit was absolutely astronomical. I know dealers that went from losing $2,200 on a Nissan to making $3,900 on the same Nissan, right? So that's a $6,100 swing. And nobody has the fortitude to look in the mirror and say, it's not me. I'm not the genius behind it. It's the market conditions, right? And these market conditions are changing, right? Because the demand is catching up. The inventory is being built. The OEMs are going to shove this inventory down dealers' throat. I know Honda is pushing for a 120-day supply already. And we're going to go back to normal. And I think a lot of these guys are going to be in a position where they should have sold a year ago. Now they were looking to get a premium, and instead they might be looking at a bankruptcy.
Interesting. So we have a question from the audience here. The issue is that dealerships are scared of letting go of control. What I mean is that digital retail moves at the pace we'd like to see. Most of general managers will not have jobs. And that is so scary. What's your thought on that? Matt?
Why wouldn't general managers have a job? I mean, every business needs a general manager. It's not an automotive unique position. You know, every enterprise rent-a-car has a general manager. Every McDonald's has a general manager.
Right.
You know, but at the end of the day, Barnes and Noble didn't want to let go either. And they didn't get into electronic e-readers, right? And then Amazon came out with Kindle and ate their lunch.
Yeah, understood. And Farid, what's your thought on the current state of dealerships there, as the question I asked earlier? And then I got one more question for both of you from the audience.
Well, from my perspective, you know, we work on multiple opportunities. This year, we've sold, I think now in North America, nearly 60 dealerships. And what's interesting is the buyers that are buying these dealerships, you know, I couldn't agree with Max more that they've got their head a little bit in the sand when it comes to social media. But one thing I believe dealers understand is that they are very good at the human touch point. And they will fight tooth and nail and try to convert every digital lead into an appointment, because their scope of influence is on that face-to-face interaction. So what's the future looking like with the automotive industry? I predict not much change. And a lot of people are saying that, you know, this digital is going to revolutionize the automotive industry. Well, you know, I remember, and I'm sure everybody on this call remembers, 20 years ago, I think it was, when the internet was going to revolutionize the car business. It was going to change everything. Wait till you see what happens. Well, I challenge anybody on this call to tell me how much has really changed. You know, technology has improved, absolutely, and technology improvements is a great thing for our industry because it really helps people reduce cost by better utilization of their skill set. But the automotive industry, guys, in my opinion, is going to stay in its same format for many years to come, because you cannot avoid the requirement of the human touch with consumers. So that's my take on it.
And we got another question from Jay Barron. If every vehicle was sold at list price, I would agree wholeheartedly with digital retail, but there is negotiation involved, and it makes a transition from in-person retail to digital retail difficult. Also, the in-person experience test drive is still critical in the vehicle purchase cycle. What's your thought on that, Farid?
I totally agree. I think, you know, everybody in business plays to their strengths. Our strength is the human contact, the control. And one thing about digital, I don't see, unless you're in a very unique market, is digital going to keep you at full list or increase your grosses? I personally don't believe that. I believe we are a very competitive organization, business. And if on digital, we get to find out that the dealer next to me is discounting by another $500, what do you think I'm going to do? It's the same thing. So I would say that digital is going to have an impact. It's going to be a great impact, and it is having a great impact, but it's not the be all and the end all of this industry by any stretch of the imagination.
And Matt? Thanks for
So my question, my counter question is, why do we have to be at list? We're not at list in the showroom. So who's to say we have to be at list on digital retail? I think the real answer here is that we have to be a one price in order for digital retail to work, right? Amazon is one price. You're not negotiating on paper towels. You're not negotiating on anything. You either like it or you don't. Apple is one price, right? Any digital retailer, Bloomingdale's, Macy's, JCPenney, everybody is one price. So unless you become a one price dealer, digital retail is pure fantasy. It's just a lead generation.
Agreed.
Right? So I bought a car from a one price dealer. So I speak from experience. It was the best experience of my life. Because you walk into the showroom, and I bought it in the showroom, not online. You walk into the showroom and you know exactly how much this car costs. So any type of anxiety that you could have as a consumer thinking, well, maybe they're taking advantage of me, maybe this guy got a better deal, right, is gone. And the salesperson's job was no longer to sell me the payment or the price or the program. The salesperson's job was to sell me the car and tell me why this car is better than what competitors are making. So one price is the answer for a better customer experience, and it's definitely the answer for digital retail. And the last point I'd like to make is that in order for you to get list, two things need to happen. You either have to provide mind-blowing experience, or you have to have a mind-blowing product. And that's why Tesla gets list, right? Because in Tesla's consumer's mind, this is as good as it gets. And if the Tesla's customers didn't want to pay list, Tesla wouldn't be able to sell it for list, right? So if you happen to be, you know, a Chevy dealer, right, and you know, the product is not up to par, nobody's going to pay list ever, right? If you get into Chevy Cruze, right, it would be criminal to pay list for their car.
We have some other comments on the chat box here. Something very interesting is from Asif. He said, I don't think the industry has changed. It's remained the same. We just have a few new ingredients to improve the customer experience, both physically and digitally. I think we perhaps didn't put as much emphasis on digital in the ways in which we can maximize the showroom experience more than we used to. And then another comment, and I apologize because I don't have your first name there, but what about the remote residents? How do we supply them with vehicles? Farid?
Well, that's one of the questions people that are looking at acquiring stores are asking is, where does the retail network go? There's so many fears and aspirations, but one thing that we'll never be able to get away from is a manufacturer needs to stay focused on the customer convenience. That means that the dealer network can't go away. So even if there are unique ways of selling a vehicle, if you're living in Collingwood, you do not want to go all the way to Barrie to get your car repaired. So the digital will affect our business, but the network will remain strong. And I'm confident of that because you have to service your client.
And Max?
Well, you know, I think there will always be solutions, right? And dealers are very creative. You have to give them credit. You know, they are survivors.
Yep.
So if there is an opportunity to grab market share, however remote it is, they should definitely pursue it. You know, and with the invention of mobile service, right, you can actually get a lot of fixed ops dollars, you know, right from the customer's driveway. So again, but you have to be open to new ideas. You know, again, most dealers are not doing pickup and delivery. Most dealers are not doing mobile service. You know, they're just waiting for somebody else to do it, right? It's like I have a feeling, right, that it's only logical for Carvana at some point to get into maintenance. And once they open these locations for oil changes and basic maintenance, it will be a wake-up call for dealers. You know, because unlike Jiffy Lube, right, Carvana has all the customers' information and they can drive them back to Carvana Service Center. and then people will be thinking, well, how come I haven't done it? So my advice is to get into it now, even though it might cost you money and you might scratch a couple of cars and you might lose a couple of keys and you might crash a couple of cars, but that's the only way to learn.
Now, here's a great business opportunity, Farid. You can work with me on this one. We'll tie Carvana in with Jiffy Lube, and then have them build their facilities right beside each other and take 10% off the top.
Smart idea, Jeff.
Okay, we'll talk. A couple of comments here too on the one price. Jay says, I wish automotive dealerships would stick to one price with dealer margins 5 to 7% and make our jobs easier. George says that we'll have one price online very soon. The one thing that we are already talking about here today is dealers can't resist themselves. So we have one price, and in Canada, we had a Toyota quite a few years ago now. It ended about 2008. Had something called Access Toyota, where prices were not different across any dealership level. And I'm not totally sure exactly how it happened, other than somebody took them to court and used the Competition Act somewhere to get them to stop. But having been with Toyota not long after that happened, the customer satisfaction was through the roof. And people were actually begging to deal with the dealer. Their trade-ins, they weren't playing the games. They were happy. The dealers were making money. The drawback is when they went away, it made a bunch of weak salespeople and weak dealers because they didn't know how to compete in the market after that. And then Jay says, I agree with John Latka, Access Toyota is the way to go, but it didn't work. But moving along, gentlemen. Many dealerships have opened or opening new facilities that represent huge investments today that were planned to design for an entirely different ownership process than we're seeing with this whole new process. How do you see them being able to pay for these Taj Mahals and capitalize on them, considering we're in an unknown time? And we'll go back to you, Farid.
Well, we speak to a lot of manufacturers, and from what we can see, the manufacturers have come to the realization that a Taj Mahal on a go-forward basis is no longer practical nor necessary. The cost of land, the cost of building today is so high that some businesses can't remain profitable if they built the Taj Mahals that the factory required. So they're rethinking that strategy through. We've heard some manufacturers are thinking about allowing dealers to build half the size of their dealership to make it a showroom-facing business and take their service facility and put it somewhere off-site at a lot cheaper rent because they feel that they don't need the size. So I think there's going to be consistent pressure from dealer network pushing back on manufacturers saying, I'm not going to build your Taj Mahal. And we're seeing that happen right now.
Funny enough, we have a Toyota Lexus dealer out here that has, they have their showrooms, and then 2 miles away near the railroad tracks, they have their,
exactly
the same guy, 2 separate service departments.
Exactly.
So it makes a point. Max, what's your take on this?
So I think it's not just the dealer network that missed the digital retail happening, it's the OEMs, right? Because while they are pushing these Taj Mahals, they're completely ignoring the digital side of the business, right? So instead of requiring, a 5 million on a $10 million upgrade, right? Why don't they require an upgrade of a website? Right? Because the website is a joke, right? They make deals with these website providers, right? And I'm not going to name them to protect the guilty, but they're terrible, right? You can't do anything on their website, right? So these guys at the OEM level, are also in denial. I would love to speak to one of them and prove to me, right, that a particular type of tile increases sales of cars, or particular furniture will take me to the promised land and I'll meet all my quotas. This thing is a joke. These guys are out of their mind.
Well,
there's a Toyota store here locally, just expanded their facility to how big is that place? 250,000 square feet.
Yeah.
They brought in a cafe from Japan in the showroom that doesn't have any presence in North America. And I remember going to it when it opened right before COVID, and I said, "Does this sell any more cars?" No, it doesn't. It makes no sense. It's the biggest Toyota facility, I think, in Canada. I mean, it's crazy big. Ironically, the same dealer group built a Lexus store, got to be almost 10 years ago. It didn't increase their sales one car. You can store 300 cars on the roof. I think they sell 40 to 60 new Lexuses a month out of that location. And the facility has got to be similar size. It makes no sense.
And it's funny, Farid, you made that comment that the manufacturers are talking about letting them go away from the fancy places. Well, I'd sure like to talk to you. Mind you, this dealer here is part of a large group, so it doesn't matter as much. But if you can imagine somebody with 3 or 4 stores and is just out $65 million for a Taj Mahal and a sushi place, and then all of a sudden their competitor can build a little smaller one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Farid, maybe you can talk a little bit about the UK market because they have much smaller footprints. Do you think that's coming to North America?
I don't know if it's going to come to North America, but working in the retail business in the United Kingdom for over 11 years, you will not believe how small some of these dealerships are. In fact, one of them I can remember was so small, when you were walking in through the front door, you were actually leaving through the back door. You had to go outside to change your mind. It was that small, And you know what? They sell cars. I was in a town called Runcorn, and we were in a small place, and we did rather well. But there's a lot more of them. So there's smaller size. So in one town there may be 7 outlets, where here in North America you would have 3 outlets for the same brand. But small stores work exceedingly well. So I would say that Europe certainly has proven that you don't need a Taj Mahal.
But
I have to say, sorry, Max, go ahead.
No, I think Tesla proved that you don't need a Taj Mahal either.
Absolutely. There you go.
Right? If you go to a Tesla store, I think my kitchen is bigger. Right? And between the one price and the small showroom and an awesome product, that's what sells cars, right? So instead of pushing for these multi-million-dollar upgrades, maybe build a better product.
Right.
Yeah.
Question here: there will be folks willing to pay for an elevated experience, just like there are people willing to pay triple for a 5-star hotel versus a 2-star in the same neighborhood. Market should dictate need, but there is a market for all experiences for it's willing to pay. What's your thought? Do you think we'll pay for a bigger store?
So I think let's take a Mercedes, right? So every Mercedes dealership I've been to is a Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
But somehow Mercedes comes back every 10 years and tells the owner to redo it and make it into a better Taj Mahal, right? And I think that's the mistake. I mean, they're good enough, right? And again, it's the customer experience that maybe I would prefer, like a 5-star hotel. But again, it's not just the showroom, it's the actual interaction with staff, it's the actual sales process and after sales process. That's what makes a difference.
For sure. It's funny, Ian brought up Bob Ruth, and there's a perfect example. There's Bob selling cars like candy bars, and he's in a showroom that's got to be 60 years old and looks like it's a 4-car showroom. And then we get people building 75-car showroom stores that are selling the same number. Mind you, in Canada, we also do less volume per store than you would get in the States.
Yeah, I mean, when Bob was talking about when he grew up, he lived in an apartment above that showroom. So, him and his dad. Go ahead, Farid.
No, I wasn't going to say anything actually, guys, but I agree.
Just a quick comment on what Max was saying, though. The other thing that Tesla does very well, and you kind of alluded to it, is the customer experience when you walk into one of their stores is very professional. You don't feel slimy, you don't feel greasy, nothing. You get treated with professionalism. What questions do you have? What can I show you? How are you today? Would you like an espresso? Like it's an amazing experience as well. It's not just all the other stuff, but they've encompassed everything, and I think that's really important as well.
Exactly, and I think that the cherry on top again is Carvana, right? They don't have showrooms, right? So they prove the concept that at the end of the day, there is a segment of population that is not interested in a showroom of any kind, whether a Taj Mahal, or a crappy showroom. They just want the convenience. And again, they proved the one price concept, right? By selling close to 200,000 cars last year and probably this year. And same goes for CarMax, right? And CarMax is the largest used car dealer in the United States. It's a one price model, and they did close to 800,000 cars last year. So obviously people like this process more so than a particular type of furniture or tile in the showroom.
100%. And I would argue that when you look at computer retail, when you look at the Apple retail store and the Microsoft store, I mean, you definitely can copy. You don't have to, it isn't like, I would say that some dealers, even though they may not be educated, might have a better understanding of what drives consumer behavior than even the OEM has in some cases.
I agree. Apple is an excellent example because I can go to the store, get all the information, and not buy. And then go to apple.com and buy that product for the same price that it was in the store, right? And I'm good to go. So I'm not saying that we have to eliminate showrooms, but we have to provide consistent experience. The price in the showroom should match the price online, and I shouldn't doubt that I'm being overcharged, and if I went to the showroom, maybe I would get a better deal. I think that's the point, equal experience regardless where you are.
100%.
Well, it's very true. There's a comment here from George that retail's changing forever, not just in the car business, and to remember all the big names and that are history now. I think the problem that we face in the car industry is we need to get out of our mind the old-fashioned horse trading ideal if we're going to get past this. And like a few people mentioned here about one price. Well, if you have there are 3 people here that mentioned one price. And if they were all in a similar market, what would happen if somebody walked into their showroom and said, I was at the other guy or lady, forgive me, and they're going to do it for this price. Will you beat them? And they know there's an opportunity, and that's the thing we have to change. And then, of course, we have another comment that people, communication, process, relationships, and culture will trump the size and appearance of a dealership. I don't know. Maybe it's the sushi. What do you guys think?
Yeah, the other one, Jeff, that weighs into there is the pay structure of the car business. Apple doesn't pay on commission. None of these, like Tesla, doesn't pay on commission. They're just paying their people to do their job, and they're told to do this. And here's the voice track they need to use, and this is what they say, and this is the process. And they're told that's what they do, and lo and behold, they do it. And this big old commission structure thing doesn't get in the way that's been hanging on like a ball and chain for the last 10, 15 years, I think.
It's very
true. Generational too. I mean, that millennial and younger generation, they want transparency as a group, right? I mean, maybe the Generation X and older, some of them might even like the horse trading, but the vast majority don't. They just say, hey man, I just want to buy a car in less than 8 hours. Like, how quickly can I do this, dude?
One comment that John made on this thing was that if there's going to be a shift to an only price structure such as Tesla, it really is OEM driven. I completely agree with you, John. You know, dealers, look, let's face it, car dealers are the best entrepreneurs in the world. They truly are. I don't know if you guys know this stat, but in 2008, when the recession happened globally, by 2012, automobile dealers had the lowest bankruptcy closure rate of any segment of business. The lowest. We're very adaptable people. Would the average car dealer like the concept of only price? I think they would, but most dealers are powerless to really make that happen. It has to be driven at a different level, and I think dealers would conform to that process. They understand the benefits Tesla are getting from only price, but how do they make the transition? Because there's a group here in Ontario right now that is committed fully to the only price. They've got 14 dealerships in the GTA, and they had to let go of all their long-term employees that had a lot of value to the store, changed their mix, changed their F&I managers. And quite frankly, since they've made that transition, their market share has dropped. Now, they're saying that it's going to drop and rebound, but it's a very competitive market, the GTA. So how are they going to survive? I mean, I know 5 organizations in the GTA that tried the only price and backed away from it. They actually, one group went full-blown only price. Within a month, they said, okay, we're not doing only price in our used car department anymore. And within a year, they were out of the only price. Great concept, but it cannot be controlled at the dealer level. It needs a lot more support from OEMs to institute that. But then we get sued like the Access Toyota situation, which is so unfair, because you ever been into a jeweler, anybody here? You go to a jewelry store and they say 50% off diamonds. I challenge anybody to go to a site like we have, go find me a retail price of a diamond. Go find me the cost price of a diamond. So there's other businesses out there that can make all these outlandish comments about how much discount they're giving on their product, but there's no business that's governed as much as our business. So I think some legislation really would go a long way as well, and I think some government support. The American NADA lobbying board have done a fantastic job for their Canadian retail car dealers. We have never had that strength in Canada, and the CADA just have not got their head around it, or may not have the ability. But it's not going to come from the dealer level, and I believe the dealer would enjoy an only price situation like Tesla if they could choose. That's my
the problem that's faced here, though, is first of all, I'm noticing Tesla suffering the same problem as regular car dealers here. They're advertising for staff constantly now. They've got a lot of turnover. The trouble being is Tesla is only owned by Tesla. So the Tesla store in downtown Vancouver is owned by the same people in West Van. Mind you, here the Mercedes stores are owned by the same guys anyways, but they control that. And that's the problem when you have individual entrepreneurs. So you got to agree with that one, of course. And then Access Toyota fell apart because only a small number of dealers said, hey, we don't like this, let's whine about it.
And the competitors, because I worked for Honda at the time, we stole a lot of business because we give them $100 off and they buy a Honda. So, whatever.
So it's a tough thing. We're getting there late in the day. Any other comments from the? Jay Barry, you agree with me? Thanks, Jay. I love you. But any other comments from the viewers? Max, Farid, any final parting thoughts?
Well, I want to say this, right? That if your only proposition is one price, you're going to fail, right? So if you're only competing on price, you will always lose. You got to bring something else to the table. And again, let's look at Carvana. You know, they bring a certain experience to the table, and they bring a certain peace of mind that you can return the car if you don't like it to the table. So if you have a one price dealership, but your salespeople have zero product knowledge, they don't look professional, the customer doesn't have any peace of mind guarantees, of course they're going to go to next store, you know, Honda, get $100 off, right, and go there, right? You have to have something besides the price. Point number two about OEM driving it. We are going to witness something very soon, right? Because GMC dealers will be selling a Hummer, and Hummer is going to be price controlled by the OEM. So just picture this for 1 second. You walk into a GMC dealership, and on the left, there is a Hummer, and it's not negotiable. And on the right, there is a Denali, and it's completely negotiable. And they're pretty close in the price range. So now you as the consumer, what are you going to get? This is the most confusing experience that will either devalue the Hummer brand completely or force them to go to one price on all of their cars. You're either pregnant or you're not, right? You cannot be both. You cannot be one price to the left and negotiation to the right under the same roof.
Well, I have to say to that too. In the early 90s, I worked at a Chrysler store where we were one price for 3 years straight. We did very well, but it was a lot of work because you had to constantly move with the market. You couldn't say my Grand Cherokee is this price, that's it, and then the other guy beat you out. You had to come up with a plan. The only reason it fell apart for us is Chrysler amalgamated all the brands into all the dealers, and in a city of 1.5 million people at that time, we had 21 Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealers and no Plymouth. Farid, any other comments?
No, thank you guys. This has been very entertaining. Some great information, Max. I'm really glad that I made your acquaintance, and I hope that we can get to talk again offline, you and I. And, you know, the last comment that I'm going to make is I am, if I could buy a badge that said I love car dealers, I would buy it. I have a lot of confidence in car dealers. They'll find a way of surviving. The industry will challenge us, but I think you'll find that dealers are very good at stepping up to those challenges. What they need this time around, though, they need much more support from the OEM to get into reality of what's really happening out there with the consumer. And I think we need better legislative support from the government, but not to be so criticized as a business that's trying to make money when we're not on the level playing field with other industries that feel that they can run away with it. So I think that great industry, great people. Look at all of you guys with all your experience. I'm overwhelmed. So thank you very much for your time, Jeff and Ian. You guys are doing a great service to the automotive industry, and I think you guys should continue no matter what.
By the way, I did hear that the Jewelers Association is going head to head against the government because they want to legislate their discounts to only 50%.
or the rug dealers who are always going out of business.
That's right. There you go. There's a perfect.
Closing forever, every day.
Yeah. I'll get into the rug business, baby.
We're really closing this time.
There was an Adam Sandler movie that actually had a business there in somewhere in New York, and it was called Going Out of Business.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's one up the street from me. They've been going out of business for years.
Oh yeah, well, that's the business model, right? If you
We're
saw
selling
that
the
in a car
building now.
dealer,
Now we're committed. No reasonable offer refused. We really want to sell some rugs.
There you go.
Thanks for coming on, guys, and thanks to Automotive Business Solutions for sponsorship of the show today. Got a quick video I just want to play for Mr. John. One sec.
while he's clicking through, remember we're taking more vendor speak.
Hi, I'm
vendors.
John, and here's why you should join AutoHub's Vendor Speak with me this Friday. You know, figuring out how to increase sales and operational efficiency can be overwhelming. So we'll show you our simple performance management program, a logical alignment and balance of people, process, and technology. In short, you'll see how we can help you make what seems impossible possible. With closing ratios as high as 55% and volume increases as high as 43.7%. Interested? Then join me and our host, Jeff Polo, on this week's AutoHub Vendor Speak. Looking forward to seeing you there.
As are we, John. Looking forward to see you on Friday.
Then next week's show will be on staffing for growth and success. We got Kathy from Her Certified, Stephen Sweeney from Star Auto Retail Recruit, Sandra Conrad from Dior Pilot HR, where she teaches you how to protect your ass with software, and then Sandy Zanoa from Innovative HR. That's it. Time, I think. Go ahead. These are shows coming up, and just so you know, Jeff and Ian, we're going to be doing a Vendor Speak show to talk as a group, me and Jeff, on the 27th, John this week, and then Gordon Vic from Why Make Appointments on the 20th. And that's time. Any final thoughts, Jeff?
No, I thought it was a great show. Thank you, Farid and Max. You guys are great. And we had a truly enjoyable show here and learned a lot. And I wish everybody's great success. And thanks again. And don't forget to tune in to AutoHub and Vendor Speak.
And last note, we do have a podcast version now available. So if you can't listen on video, you can get it on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Take care. Thanks, John. Talk soon.